Lifting strength 100% affects your striking power. The only reason this conversation is even a thing is because people will bring up examples of how there be the strongest men in the world that can lift a lot of weight, right? And they can't hit as hard as some of the hardest strikers in the world, right? So they try to use this example to say in fictional, you cannot correlate lifting strength with striking power when that's simply just too much of a blanket statement to never use it. Of course, there's exceptions, but overall, a lot of characters, the reason why they can hit hard is because they have super strength. The writers in Marvel, DC, whatever, when they showcase a character lifting a lot of weight, they're trying to show you as the reader that these characters are super strong. For example, let's just say I made up a character, right? He has one comic issue out. And that one comic issue, I show him bench pressing Jupiter or Earth or something, right? And then somebody says, oh man, how hard can he punch? I don't know if he can punch through a wall. Do you think he can punch down a building? When I literally showed him lifting a planet, because lifting strength and striking strength are different. Just because I haven't shown him strike yet doesn't mean we can't assume that his punches could punch down a building if we literally seen him bench press planets. Like I've seen a comment, somebody said, oh, Supreme can lift the heaven. And then somebody in the comment said, well, that's not a striking feat. That's a lifting feat. I'm like, the dude can lift the universe. What do you mean that's not a striking feat? I'm pretty sure them hits are going to be heavy if he can freaking lift the universe. Like, come on now. Like the only safe way to say they wouldn't be able to do something like that because of his lifting strength, if something physically was in his mind mentally, limiting himself to access his strength while punching. That would be like some Haki type stuff, some Haki mind controller manipulator got in that powerhouse's mind to where they can't access that strength when they try to punch somebody. Mental block. That's the only way that would make any sense. But otherwise, we don't need to see a character that can lift a planet. We don't need to see him punch a building down. We know he can punch it down if he can lift a planet. See, here's the thing. In real life, when you compare the strongest humans in the world versus the average guy, the strength and power gaps in real life aren't big enough. But when there's characters in fictional universes that are 500 billion times stronger than you, lifting strength freaking matters. Look at it like this. There's two exact copies of Bruce Lee, same fighting skills, same weight, everything identical. One Bruce Lee can lift 1,000 pounds at best. The other Bruce Lee can lift 500 billion pounds. I'm pretty sure the Bruce Lee that can lift 500 billion pounds is going to punch harder, even though they have the same skill or technique. Skills can make up the difference in real life when the gaps in power aren't that large. But when you start getting to the point where characters are 500 trillion times stronger than you and stuff, trust me, it matters. Like another thing people gotta use is the Flash. Okay, so the Flash is one of those rare exceptions where the reason why the Flash can punch hard is because of his raw speed, him ramming into you at a crazy speed. The mass with his speed is helping him punch hard. You probably would never see Flash bench press a planet like Superman, but the Flash can hit Superman-esque or Superman tier because of his raw speed. People try to use this for every example. No, that's just the freaking Flash type characters. Not every character can be used for this. So while in Flash's case, his lifting strength does not equal striking strength, that's a very specific situation where that doesn't apply to Flash. Now, when you look at somebody like Spider-Man, Spider-Man can punch really hard. One of the reasons why Spider-Man can punch hard is because of his super strength. If you was to take away Spider-Man's super strength, he would lose his punching power. Like it's linked. The writers gave him a certain level of super strength that helps his punches. Like if you took away the Flash's super strength, right? Whatever he might have, it ain't that crazy to begin with. But let's just say we take away Flash's super strength, right? But he still has the speed force. That won't really affect the Flash because the main reason Flash can punch hard is primarily because of his speed. If you take away Flash's super strength, he still would be a heavy hitter. If you take away Spider-Man's super strength, his punching power would go down. Let's talk about energy manipulators. Like for example, characters can put energy around their fists to increase their punching power. This will be another exception, I would say, to where their lifting strength doesn't necessarily apply to how hard they can hit because they're energy manipulators. They can put energy around their fists to make their hits hit harder. Like examples of this is characters like Tsunade. She can put chakra or energy around her fist to punch harder. Another example would be like a character like Iron Fist. He can put chi or energy around his fist to punch harder. Iron Fist is not somebody I would say is the strongest physically when it comes to the bench press contest, but he can change tiers. Like say for example, like this right here, right? He can fight super soldiers, but then the moment he takes out his Iron Fist punch, it kind of makes him change tiers to where he can hit way above his weight class in this regard. So in a way, he can kind of jump tiers when he uses his chi. He would be considered an exception if we would say he can hit harder than what he can lift because of energy manipulation. I would say Dragon Ball characters fall in this category too. Their lifting feats aren't nowhere near as impressive as their striking feats, but at the same time, they can amplify their body with their energy to lift more weight or to punch harder, vice versa. The example, a Dragon Ball Z character put energy around his fist. This is a constant thing, them amplifying themselves with chi. So in their case, they do have super strength, but they're heavily reliant on chi. Chi is a big reason why they're so powerful. Characters like Superman, Sentry, Gladiator, and etc., Hyperion, those are the kind of characters that are very versatile. Like they're super strength, they got super strength, ridiculous super strength, they can lift planets, blah, 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 but they can also fly really fast. These are one of those characters where you could technically take away the super strength of Superman, let him keep his durability, but Superman would still be able to hit hard because he can ram at you at ridiculous speeds. He's one of those rare people that can do that. Not every character is like this. I would say the Hulk's reason why the Hulk can punch hard is not because of his raw speed. Sure, he's not slow and he can move as a blur. The main reason why he can hit hard is because of his super strength. That's the main thing. If you take away Hulk's super strength, his punching power would drastically go down. That's a big reason why he can punch fast, hit hard, blah, blah, blah. Think about it. When you have the strength to lift a planet and you're in a 2,000-pound body, your fist would feel really light. So it makes sense for him to be fast.
I mean, technically, the Hulk is an energy manipulator and can blast too. Even if you took away his super strength, I guess he still would be able to hit hard, I guess. If you want to look at it that way, he's a gamma manipulator, energy manipulator, I guess.
I love this example from One Piece on how One Piece characters are technically energy manipulators. I mean, we know Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, and them can hit with crazy force by what we've seen. But later in the series, they learn this thing on this Haki. They can use inner energy or inner willpower to amplify themselves up. You see this black aura like this, for example. That's why they can use their super strength and amplify themselves. But a big part of the series was letting us watchers know that they're strong without this energy manipulation. They added this willpower Haki concept later. They got this on top of their strength, which helps them hit harder. The main reason people say lifting strength and striking strength are completely different is because they compare a lean person that's been training their whole life to like a bulky, super strong person that's way more massive, can't use as much speed or technique in their bulky body. And they try to say, oh, that's the reason why lifting and striking strength ain't the same thing, because he can lift more, but he can strike harder, blah, blah, blah. But I guarantee if you was to take this guy right here, give him the strength of this guy right here, take away the bulky aspect about himself, keep his techniques, I guarantee the strength this guy has would help this guy's punching power with his technique. I guarantee it would help. There's a lot of nuance to it, like their bulky nature, their size, that kind of messes up their technique, their velocity, their punching speed, which could affect why they can't hit as hard as some of these smaller people. Not to mention, in real life, the gaps in power is not as big. Now, if this guy right here could lift a mountain, I don't care what kind of technique this guy has, he's not going to be able to outpunch this guy if he can lift a mountain. Like, that would be an example of fictional gaps that make the conversation totally different. So at the end of the day, lifting strength 100% does affect your striking strength. The writers aren't going to give a character the ability to lift a planet, but their max punching power is only the power needed to bust down a brick wall. Like a brick wall versus lifting a planet. Like, come on, why would he have this kind of strength, but he can't bust down a brick? Like, that's ridiculous. I mean, just imagine the squeezing power. So that's another way you can use your lifting strength in combat. Like if somebody can lift 500 billion tons and they was to grab you and squeeze you with all that raw muscle, that's a way to use his power in combat. If you think I've been just talking bullcrap, well, Marvel themselves have even said this in their own comic. I mean, sure, there are multiple Marvel writers, but at the same time, I think this is a good representation of the reason why these characters are stated to be able to lift this certain amount of weight is because they want to give you an idea of how hard these hits would feel to your face. I would even make a good argument that whatever a character's lifting strength can do, we can also assume they could hit harder because of other factors like technique, speed, and velocity. I would say the lifting strength could be like a bare minimum to give you just a small idea of how hard they can hit. I get what people are trying to say lifting strength and striking strength are different. They are slightly different, but they're not too that far off, especially on a lot of different characters. Some characters more than others, right? Like, for example, even though I'm not the biggest fan of it, realistically, Wolverine's level of strength with his muscle, he's not weak by any means. He's superhumanly strong. But when you compare him to the Hulk or something, right, his strength shouldn't be enough to be able to cut somebody like Hulk, knowing Hulk's durability and how much stronger the Hulk is. But via hacks, because of adamantium, the way adamantium is written in Marvel, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but I'm not the writer, but the way adamantium is written is meant to be able to cut anybody, even if there's a vast strength gap. That would be considered hacks. Lifting strength versus striking strength, I don't think fall in this category. Sure, there's exceptions. There are some characters that hit hard because of their energy manipulation, but then there are certain characters that the reason why they can hit hard is because of their super strength, lifting strength, their muscle. Like somebody like the Thing, he can hit hard because he's super strong. He can lift a lot of weight. His body's durable. He can hit hard because of all these factors. But somebody like Iron Fist, he not the heaviest lifter when it comes to him not using his chi, but when he energy manipulates, he can hit way harder than what he can lift, like by an astronomical margin, because he's the energy projector. That's the difference. So I hope you guys enjoy. Lifting strength definitely helps with striking strength, but there's also nuances too. I hope you understood that throughout this video. What do you guys think? Did you learn something new? Did I give you a new perspective on how to think on this subject?